What's going on, everybody? We're here at Ditto Farms Park for the first ever course review. Let's get into it. Okay, hold up. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you how this is going to work. So, there's 10 different categories that we're going to be rating this course off of. Tee pads, signs, baskets, fairways, rough, difficulty, the views, variety, flow, and replayability. So, for each of these categories, they will be rated out of 10 points. At the end, we're going to tally up all of the points that it gets for each category and combine them to give us a final number score out of 100, and that will be the final rating for the course. Simple enough. But before we do that, I got to go play the course, and I'm going to show you guys that round. Let's go do that now. So I feel like these first, four holes? The 4 holes, right? Yeah. Okay. These first 4 holes aren't really a great tell for the majority of the course. It's pretty open. This is mainly a woods course. But needless to say, it's good that we have some open ones, because once we get in there, I'm not doing anything like that again. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so now we're kind of getting more into like what I feel like the course actually is more like. Even though these first couple in the woods are a little bit shorter than some of the ones coming up, but the ones coming up are so hard. So it's kind of good to have like these short, like touchier ones. I'm liking it. I love this course. I'm gonna be fully honest about that. I already know this course and I love it, so it's good. Turn. Oh my god. So this is where the rough starts to get bad on this course, is through the back nine. Whereas like, well, it's the winter, which helps. But getting through here, I mean, if you look at this stuff, it's not nice at all if you land in there, and the gaps aren't getting any bigger. But that's why this course is hard, and that's why it's good. So. Okay, this hole is beautiful, all 15 out here. It's also so stupidly hard. Par 3, it could be a 4, realistically, but that was a really good job. Probably the best shot off right now. So I'm pretty hyped up about that.
Blue too much juice.
Park the red basket at least. Alright, that's gonna do it out here. We got one more hole, hole 18, way up the hill. I'm feeling good about this course. Obviously not the best day, but I know this course well. I'm feeling like a pretty good score, but we'll see after the round. But let's do this off one. that's going to do it here. Now we're going to head back over to me in my little office, and we're going to talk about the rating. Okay, welcome back to the office. So, the round is over. Now we got to give this course a little rating guy. First thing, tee pads. As you can probably see in the video, tee pads were a little bit slick today. There's some snow that's been going on, and they've melted away a little bit. But with that said, these tee pads did not slip at all the entire round because they're concrete pads. They're really good. Concrete is kind of the gold standard in my personal opinion. I think that the tee pads for this course deserves an 8 out of 10. Why that is? They're concrete pads, yes, but they could be a little bit longer in some areas. Sometimes you're backing up into the grass. For most people, you'll use a little bit of a longer run up. So that's a 8 out of 10. Still pretty good. Next up, we have the signs. The tee signs of this course are awesome. I really like them. They look really good, the nice top-down view, very detailed. You can see the different layouts of the course that they have put in the bottom. Yeah, man, they look super good. I think it's one of the best parts of the course. I wish more courses had detailed tee pads like it. They're never in the way. They're not ginormous, which I think is good because sometimes those big ginormous tee signs that you show in front of you with all this information, they get a little distracting. For the signs, 10 out of 10 at this course. I love them. This one's going to be quick. For the basket, there is a gold standard in disc golf. And what that is Innova disc catchers that are pretty worn in. And it's that simple. They just have to be disc catchers. They got to be decently worn in, not trashed, but you don't want them to be brand new either. When they're in that little like middle stage, that's the golden little pocket that you got right there. So it's done. 10 out of 10 for the baskets. Move on. Next up we have fairways. So for the fairways, this one's pretty interesting. I think that this course has some pretty nice fairways. For a woods course, some of the lines are pretty tight, but I feel that for the most part, they're pretty fair. There's a couple holes that are a little bit weird with some of the fairways. Not really ways to get up and get a birdie on the hole, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Some areas I feel like if you take a couple trees down, that there would be a little bit of a better time with some of the different fairways that you have. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Not bad at all, but definitely a little bit of improvement could be put into there. But with that said, moving on. Next up, we have the rough. The rough of this course I actually really like. It can be pretty bad at times if you get off the fairway. Most of them are pretty fair. The fairways are really defined, so when you get into the rough, it's not usually a fluky kind of thing. It's usually like you deserved it. You threw a bad shot, so get over it. But the rough is punishing at times, but not impossible, which is important. You can definitely get out and get back into play, which is good. I think that's super important. But overall, I think the rough is pretty good at this course. 8 out of 10. Okay, difficulty. Difficulty at this course, I've kind of already explained it through the last two, but I think the difficulty is great. There's a lot of different shots that requires you to throw. Fairways are nice and defined, so that's not an issue. The rough is difficult, but not impossible. So, for the difficulty category, I want to make it clear, it's not necessarily that if the course is the hardest course ever, it gets a 10 out of 10. It's it needs to be difficult for it to get a high score, yeah, but there's a fair kind of hard and an unfair kind of hard where there's just way too many trees in the fairway, the shots don't make sense. That won't get a high score. But for something like this where I feel all the shots are defined and you have to come with a good game plan, you can't just shoot 10 down rounds. I shot a 4 down in this video, and that is a really good round out there, and I like that personally. Sometimes I feel like some of the shots or the scores that we have for disc golf are a little bit too low, and I think that going out there and being able to hit pars on a lot of these holes and feel good about that, I think that's a good thing. So for that, 8 out of 10. The views. This course is beautiful. I feel like I didn't do it justice necessarily by the time of year that we went out there because it's winter and everything looks terrible. We got a little bit of the sunset in there. These rolling hills, the woods are incredible, especially during the fall and springtime. Some of the the rocks and these like hills that you're walking up, I think they're really cool. Could be a little bit cooler of a destination. It's no like Maple Hill or anything like that, but I still think it's a pretty cool spot, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Variety. This course has a great variety. You know, there's these big open holes to start out your round where you're just throwing these big bomber shots, and then you get to the woods. You have some short woods holes, you have some long ones, some pretty open fairways in the woods where you're trying to get through. There's a lot of different gaps for you to hit, or there's ones that's just one simple gap and you just have to hit it the whole way down. There's, you know, 2 different tee pads, 2 different baskets. They have full course layouts for each of them. You can see that on the tee signs, which I think is really important. You know, for this, we're going to only be judging each category on the longest tee position. Having those other options for different players is super important. And even if it's your local course, like being able to go there and, you know, not having to play the same thing every time, I think it's super important. So for variety, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Flow. This is the one thing I think this course could have done a little bit better. It's not the biggest course in the world, so walking between holes, you know, it's not that far, which is good. I think that for the most part, you know, the holes lead you to the next hole pretty well, but there's a few times where you have to walk back through fairways, and obviously that can get annoying for like things like tournaments, and just even, you know, having to walk over to like finish your hole and then having to like trudge backwards. I don't necessarily love that, but for the most part, like I said, it's pretty decent because, you know, they dump you out right at the next hole for the most part. You're not having to walk a mile to get to the next hole, which I really appreciate. There's some courses around here where that's not necessarily the case, so I can appreciate that. I don't think the flow is bad, you know, so I'm not going to give it under a 5, but I think it could be improved a little bit. So with that, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Okay, and then lastly, we have replayability, and I already kind of touched on this with the variety, with all of the different layouts that they have, you know, just being able to go back and do your thing, play the course however you want. You know, the shorts are pretty short at this course, and I really love playing like short technical disc golf. I think that's really fun. We have a couple courses out in this area that are exactly that, and I think this fits well within that group. For replayability, I'm going to give this a 8 out of 10. And finally, for the final score of our first ever course review, Ditto Farms Park gets a score of 8.0 out of 10. 8.0. I feel like that's a great place to start. This course is amazing. I kind of went there. I didn't know exactly what I was going to give it. I knew it was going to be somewhere in the high 7s, low 8s. Yeah, overall, this is a fantastic course. If you are out in this area, go check it out. I think it's one of the best within this whole western part of Maryland. And yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming out. If you could do me a favor, like and subscribe. Make sure you're coming back for more videos. I got some amazing plans coming up for this channel, finally reviving it. It's going to be a great 2022. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, homies.